Hey guys, today I have a 1980s Schwinn Traveler bike that I'm going to tune up. So I actually found this bike in a shed, and the owners had said that it's been sitting for about 20 years and it hasn't been ridden in over 26 years. So first thing I decided to do is just give it a good wash, clean it all up, make sure there wasn't anything too wrong with it. Just making sure I'm washing off the wheels. Get all the cobwebs off. The bike actually, the wheels turn very smoothly. So I decided to put it in the bike stand and just give it a few pedals to see how everything was moving. And from this angle you can see actually shifting through the gears from the highest gear to the lowest gear there. And it's actually shifting pretty well, surprisingly. And then from there I shifted it from the lowest gear to the highest gear. So this water in this bottle has probably been there for 26 plus years. I thought about drinking it, but decided that it's probably just a bottle full of cancer at this point, so I dumped it out. Next, I aired up the tires, oiled up the chain a bit. Once the chain was moving freely and nice and lubricated, I decided that it was time to take the bike off the stand and take it for a spin and see how everything felt. So I took it out on the street and tried shifting through the gears here, and the gear shifting is a bit different from modern bikes, but it seemed to do pretty well. There were a few adjustments to make. Now it was time to give the chain a proper cleaning once I decided that this bike actually had some potential. So I used just a paper towel and some WD-40 just to make sure the chain was nice and lubricated. Then I moved on to use this chain brush here to really get the grime and gunk off. After fighting with the chain a bit, I finally got it all cleaned up. Next, I cleaned up the rear cassette here just with using the other end of the chain brush there. There's a lot of dirt and old grease and stuff inside those gears. Once I was finished with the rear cassette there, I decided it was time to make some adjustments to the derailleur. Here's the screw labeled with an H on the derailleur, and also the screw labeled with an L on the derailleur. And what the screw labeled with the H actually does is it limits how far out the derailleur can actually move. So when you're shifting to your higher gears, your chain doesn't fall off the last gear there. here I was observing that the chain actually wasn't getting to the lowest gear, so I loosened it so it could actually fall to the lowest gear there. And once I was happy with how I was shifting in the high gear, I decided to turn my attention to the low gear. And as you can see here, it wasn't shifting all the way into the low gear, so I loosened up the screw a bit. And got to shift there, but it was still making some noise, so I decided to loosen it up a bit more. And now everything was running pretty smooth and sounding pretty good. Here's a different camera angle of that rear cassette there, and you can see I'm in the lower gear shifting to a higher gear, and everything's running pretty smoothly. One thing I'd like to note is that you're not hearing any chain rubbing or any crazy noises going on, so you can tell that it's adjusted fairly well. Next, I decided to shift from the highest gear to the lowest gear to see that everything was shifting smoothly and there were no chain rubbing noises. Finally, I determined that it was time to really just clean up the bike here and clean up the wheels and polish that. First, I started with paper towel, just getting off all the gunk and stuff that built up on these wheels. Next, I hit it with the steel wool, the medium grit, if you will, to really clean it up. Finally, I hit it with the fine grit steel wool to really give it that shine. And next I decided to polish up the pedals and the crankset a bit. Next on the list was to polish up the front wheels just like I did with the rear wheels, starting with the medium grit steel wool and finishing with the finer grit steel wool. Here's the final product of the wheels. As you can see, they turned out pretty well. Next, and finally, I decided to clean up the front forks here a bit. And here's the finished product. Bike shifts and runs well, pedals well, it's all shiny, and it's pretty surprising for a 30-year-old bike. Thanks for watching, guys, and be sure to subscribe.